architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
Hey, welcome to Real Talk with RJ. RJ here. That was a clip from the first part of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech that he gave the day when black people did the Million Man March on Washington. And actually there was a lot of white people there too. There was a lot of clergy, a lot of preachers that supported them. And this was a part of his speech, and I like how he said in the beginning there that our government is a republic, which it is. It's not a democracy. It is a republic set up to be a representative government. But he said that the founders, and as flawed as these men were, I think they put that into our Declaration of Independence and into our Constitution to guarantee that every citizen of the U.S. would have those rights. And it was clear at that time in history, it had just been 100 years since the Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln was issued and the slaves were freed. At that point it had just been 100 years. And certain things did improve, but a lot of things did not. You had the Jim Crow South, you had segregation, you had black people not being allowed to cast a vote in any election. And this gentleman right here, Martin Luther King Jr., who we honor and celebrate today here in the U.S., he was born on January 15th, 1929, and he was assassinated in, I believe it was April of 1965. I have to check, and don't quote me on that, but I believe it was early April 1965, and he was assassinated because of what he stood for. And let me tell you something about MLK. He was also a flawed individual, okay? He had his issues just like everybody else, but he was a God-fearing man. He made sure that anyone who marched with him, anyone that joined forces with him, had to commit to follow the teachings of Christ, had to commit 1,000% to nonviolence, to peaceful marches and peaceful, quiet, most of the time very quiet, protests. And during this same time in history, you had other civil rights leaders. The other one that's really well known is Malcolm X, and he was a part of the Nation of Islam until he left it, and then got assassinated for leaving the Nation of Islam. But he was also a prominent civil rights figure around the same time as Martin Luther King Jr. And his approach was much more about violence and retaliation, whereas Martin Luther King Jr. taught his followers, if the police come and arrest you, even if you haven't done anything wrong, you submit and you go with them respectfully and quietly. Do not fight back. Do not be violent. Any wrong that they do to you, do kindness in return. Don't retaliate. Don't take revenge. And in the end, and some people say historically that both of those ways of doing things, the violent retaliatory approach, and also MLK's approach of peaceful resistance, but also kindness and following the teachings of Christ. Some people say both of those approaches had a place and contributed to the eventual Civil Rights Act that was finally put into law. But I don't know, I wasn't alive during that time, but I think historically, I think that's inaccurate. I think more people were touched to the core when they saw men and women peacefully marching down the street, bothering no one, not making a lot of noise, just walking down the street, arm in arm in solidarity, being hosed down and beaten by the police, and they did not fight back. That, I think, spoke louder and made more of an impact on the rest of the country that was watching these things unfold. I think that made more of an impact than the violence perpetuated by Malcolm X and a lot of his followers. So, MLK definitely was a flawed individual, but his approach to getting the ear of the government officials was a lot more effective. And as I was thinking about him today and his life and what he stood for, I also thought of the situation that our country's in now. There's a lot of tension still, and there are still some people out there who hold strong to their prejudice and their racism on both sides, blacks and whites. And it's just time to let it go. Let it go. Okay? We both have to learn how to live together and treat each other with respect and kindness, and to not stereotype each other and belittle each other because we have a different view or a different opinion on whatever the situation may be. I think, as Martin Luther King said in his speech, that we need to fully embrace his dream that all people would be judged on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Because for me, I could care less what color you are. It's about who are you as a person, and what do you stand for, and how do you treat other people. Those are the most important things. So, as you know, if you're a student, you probably had the day off from school, or if you work in a government capacity or a state run business, you probably had the day off. I had to work, but I still took the time to think about MLK and think about his legacy, and that's why he's up here on my board in the background, and that's why Abraham Lincoln is up there as well, because they both were just heroes for freedom. And MLK really approached it the right way, and he really understood what our country was meant to be, how it was meant to be set up, and it just took a long time to catch up to where it should be. And we still have our issues, we still have things we're working through, but today is much better than it was back then, and much better than 100 years before that. We have made so much progress in that regard, and we still have a ways to go. We still have some things to learn. We still can show each other a lot more kindness and respect and fairness than we do. There's still room for improvement, but I think if we all embrace MLK's message of peace, unity, nonviolence, and if we also embrace his message of judging someone on the content of their character and not the color of their skin, I think we would all be much happier and be living in much more of a peaceful existence than we do right now. So, thank you for watching this video. I just wanted to take a little time out and give a shout out to one of my heroes of the civil rights era, Martin Luther King Jr. What a just humbly powerful figure he was. His temperament, his dedication, his peaceful approach to everything really made a difference in our country. And I think, he died, sadly assassinated, never really, fully getting to see his dream realized and to see all the hard work that he did and everything that he fought for realized. But I think he died not knowing just how important he was, how pivotal he was. I really believe God raised him up for such a time as it was in our country. We needed him because there was the Malcolm X violence being perpetuated and retaliation and revenge, and we needed him to come in and say, no, that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to be peaceful. We're going to stand. We're going to protest. We're going to march. We're going to try to get, make a difference, but we're going to do so in a respectful and peaceful and non-retaliatory measures. And I think that is what spoke the loudest of him and his movement and his life. And I'm just thankful that God was able to use him in that way. So today, take some time to think about MLK, think about what he stood for, and think about really truly looking at the character of someone and not what they look like, not the color of their skin or the crazy color of their hair. Look at who they are as a person. Look at the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hey, treat everybody with kindness, respect, and love. God bless you.